the doors other cops don't want to. Taking fire from every scumbag in town.
They didn't earn it. I don't feel bad about taking it.
All about bringing force down on the street. Y'all take a look at what you got going on under your own roof.
I never put the money above us.
How long you think that's gonna last?
I don't want Vic in our lives anymore.
You're investigating me?
Vic Mackey beats suspects. He deals drugs. And that's just all in one day. I wonder what he's gonna do tomorrow. Everybody down!
Hey, my day's just getting started.
Hello, we're straight in. We're straight in tonight because we're already running a bit late. Sorry we had to start the stream late. I had a rather urgent work-related phone call that was supposed to happen at 8 o'clock and then that got delayed. So, yeah, got through it as quick as I could. And here we are. Talking about episodes 8 and 9 of The Shield, Season 1 with my usual suspects. We've got Blue Collar Loser in the house, Lord of Toxicity, ex-cop, ex-criminal, Northern English bastard, and the Inside Man who's ex-absolutely everything. So, yeah. Guys, welcome to the stream. How are you all doing?
Yeah, we're doing just finished putting the notes together.
You finished cutting what together?
Putting the notes together from the episode. So
right, okay, great. Yeah, I've got quite a few. So yeah. Well, let's get into it. We're going to do this in our kind of usual, fairly structured order. Yeah. So first of all, first up, let me get these images up, which have been prepared for us by none other than Blue Collar Loser. So I'm going to do a quick overview of episode 8, Cupid and Psycho. It's directed by Guy Furland. The main two writers on it, apart from Sean Ryan, of course, are Kurt Sutter and Glenn Mazzara. And of course, last episode it kind of ended with Julian's boyfriend getting arrested by Vic and taken in. The episode starts with a pursuit, which Danny and Julian get involved in. And in the meantime, a newspaper headline has landed on the chief's desks: Farmington cops steal drugs. So obviously, Guilfoyle is very upset with this. And Acevedo's kind of like, yeah, I'll see if I can find out where the leak comes from. He's like, yeah, well, I know where the leak came from. You leaked it. With that. The strike team is broken up for the time being, and everybody is assigned to other detectives. I actually wish that's a narrative they'd kept in the show a bit longer. I think it could have had quite a bit of mileage.
Just to get some more consequences on the table.
Shane is paired up with Dutch. Vic is paired up with Claudette. We don't see what happens to Ronnie and Lem in this episode. The chase comes to an end, and Danny and Julian pull the driver over. When they open the boot, there's a burnt body in there, and they think it's dead. And then suddenly the eyes open, and we cut to so very perfect rendition of the opening music there. Vic, flawless, meanwhile, we cut back flawless. Yeah, cut back to the station. Vic uses his leverage on Julian to basically get him to change his statement. Vic and Claudette then go to the Burns unit, where they realize the person in the boot of the car is the victim of a meth lab exploding. So everybody's trying to cook up meth these days to make easy money. Acevedo has a meeting with his councilman guy. He's going to back him to be on the city council. Shane and Dutch initially are kind of like not doing anything. Dutch is basically doing everything he can not to work with Shane. Danny invites Dutch out for dinner to say thanks for helping her try and pass the sergeant's exam. At that point, a woman comes in looking for Detective Gannon. She wants an update on her husband's murder. It's been over a year. She's not had any replies for him. That's because he has retired. So Shane and Dutch agree to look into it. Meanwhile, there's more conflict between Julian and Danny. There's our guest actress. We're going to talk about her later. It's a great scene, incidentally, with Shane. Yeah,
For the pig.
so sorry about your. It must be tough. Yeah, so Shane. So after they've conversed with the woman, Shane and Dutch talk about her, and Shane's like, "Oh yeah, she's been on the vine for a year. She is ripe."
Yes.
Julian and Danny are back at the house from the pilot. This is the house we first saw in the pilot, where the girl Fran, rather large girl, is playing her two boyfriends / ex-boyfriends off against each other. She keeps picking one over the other, then going back to another one. And we cut to Aceveda, who's having a conversation with his wife about the meeting that he's going to have and that he's being back for councilman. And she's really proud of him. And she says, power is an aphrodisiac. Cut to 70s porn music. And then we cut away from their scene. Vic and Claudette realize that the meth that has been made by the lab that exploded is actually killing people. So they've got to find out where that's going. This is the couple from the first episode, from the pilot.
Yeah, you know, so whenever we do that whole like previously on, that means whatever that was previously on will be in this episode.
Yeah, there's usually a connection. It's good that they do that at the beginning of each episode, actually, because it really helps kind of solidify plot lines and stuff. And people's memories are short.
I mean, sometimes, yeah, like 9 episodes later, it's hard to remember what happened. Remember, plus this was a weekly show. Can you remember something that happened like 10 weeks ago?
It does feel very real, like real life, doesn't it? Yeah, like you're getting all these cases handed down to you, and you got things are getting forgotten because more stuff is being added to the fucking table.
We'll get into it. Let me get through the rest of the plot. So, Vic goes heavy on the guy that they know is connected to the meth being distributed. Basically, presses his face up against his dead brother. Vic changes Julian's mind. That's this scene here. Puts pressure on him to change his statement. Vic and Aceveda then get into it because Aceveda wants to know what Vic's done in order to get Julian to drop his statement. In the meantime, Dutch interviews people on the cold murder case. Shane is interviewing the young assistant. Do you have a partner or boyfriend to look after you? I'm single, she says. It's great to see Shane at work. Vic, meanwhile, with his wife, visits an autistic school, potentially for somewhere for Matthew to go, but it's expensive, of course. Julian is visited by his pastor. We find out later that is because Aceveda called him, and the pastor can't really get anything out of Julian. He kind of says this line about, what if the guy you're supposed to be isn't who you are? And he says unfiltered prayer to God works best. Vic and Claudette then bust up this hazing party, which is being presided over by this guy who is the person who's in charge of cooking up the crystal meth. And they pull him in for questioning. That kid is in Empire Records, that movie that's set in like the record store, like a comedy. This is Vic and his wife checking out the specialist school. Good to see you, Wormy Spoons, in the chat. The man contacted me the other day about some writing stuff.
Yeah, 25 grand. My God.
25. Yeah, is it 25 grand to get the place in the school?
That's what Vic said. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that he's going to be after 25 grand, which is a funny coincidence because there's a figure of $20,000 coming in the story in a bit. So yeah, then this is the hazing party, they bust up, they bring the kid in. The kid's dad comes down to the station. When the kid's dad finds out his son is dealing again, he nearly beats the shit out of him. And there's like so much said about their relationship in that scene. We find out that in order to get the supply of the drugs, they had to borrow a load of money from a sort of heavy called Mandy Sandoval. So Acevedo, Vic, and Claudette have a meeting. They need to put wires on these kids and set up a meeting to pay back the 20 grand that they owe him. So they need 20 grand. So as soon as that scene's mentioned, I thought Vic's going to try and find a way to steal that 20,000 so he can pay for the school, but that's not actually what happens. Meanwhile, Dutch goes to the widow's house to find out some background about one of the potential suspects. Finds out the business partner supposedly has ties in Phoenix. The woman flirts with him a bit. Dutch is kind of tempted to like go in, but refrains from plucking the ripe fruit, so to speak. Acevedo has a meeting with Julian. It's pretty intense. He says that he's going to be a month's no, that's later. He says he might be facing a suspension, maybe a termination.
It's next episode.
Yeah. Vic and the wife argue over the school because of the money, and Vic's not around and so on. Then the daughter has a conversation with Vic, and Vic explains that Matthew doesn't think like her and he needs help. And she says, like, big sister help. And yeah, that's right. So it's kind of, Vic can be a good dad at times when he's there. Danny and Julian are back at the house. The woman has changed boyfriends again. Meanwhile, Dutch interviews Ari, the business partner again of the widow, with Shane this time in the room. And they're doing their kind of good cop, bad cop thing. Shane goes into bad cop, throws him against the wall, and he just spills out the beans. Shane comes out and says, hey, yeah, we work together well. We're a great team. You see that? You set it up. I knocked him down. It's such a great scene because Dutch is kind of mad that actually it did work well. He doesn't want to say that, but they actually did work well. Vic and Claudette stake out the meth guy. Dutch and Shane tell the widow the news that the business partner killed her husband. Then there's they catch with the stakeout with the meth guy. They catch him, but unfortunately the kids attacked him first, so they don't quite get him for the crime that they were hoping to set him up for. And then having told the widow about the deceased, Dutch then cancels his dinner with Danny. And I love the way he uses the same line that she used on him when she cancelled. She said, I've got a friend who's having a crisis. That's exactly what he says to her, which is a complete lie. Acevedo suddenly appears behind Vic in the station. Vic says, someone should put a bell around your neck so we can hear you coming. Vic tells the dealer, Sandoval, even though he's free to go, he's on his radar now, and trust me, that's not a good place to be. Acevedo and the councilman have their meeting. Acevedo has to kind of fess up, says, I'm not going to be able to bring you the corrupt cop this week as an arrest. And the councilman says, well, people remember headlines. They tend to forget everything else. That's so true. People always remember headlines. They barely read past them half the time. Dutch and Claudette have a little meeting, and she sort of says, okay, I did miss you, because they've been with different partners. Julian and Vic meet in the toilet, where Julian says, look, I'm not gay. Vic says, look, you were there for me, I'm there for you. He's trying to sort of set up these bonding moments with people like he normally does. Cuts to Dutch cooking. He's at the widow's house. Because Shane actually announces that he's going to give it 2 weeks and then he's going to check in on the lady. So Dutch knows he's on the clock. So he gets there first. The widow's got a sexy red top on. Dutch is trying to be a good guy. She comes on to him. He says, oh, I shouldn't take advantage of you. But, ultimately he's up for a shag. So he gets his end away. Danny and Vic, IAD. Vic sticks up for Julian. So, there's kind of a second chance situation. But Guilfoyle and Vic have a meeting. Guilfoyle tells Vic, I can't have your back anymore. I figured I owed it to you to tell you that. Meanwhile, we cut to Dutch in the shower at the widow's house. And we realize that this lady is kind of like borderline loony. because she picks up Dutch's gun at one point. And the first time I watched this, I thought she was actually going to kill him. Then she steals his jacket and puts it in the wardrobe, which obviously used to belong to her husband, with her husband's clothes. However, I have a different theory about that. I think that all of those jackets in that wardrobe represent other shags that she's had with other men since her husband died. So there's one like piece of clothing stolen from each man. And the show kind of wraps into this montage. We get a shot of Shane, Acevedo's wife. Vic's having a family dinner. The sister shows Matthew how to eat pizza. We cut to Julian. He's looking lost. And then Danny and Julian are called back to the house with Claudette there. And the girlfriend and boyfriend have been shot dead by the ex. So that storyline kind of comes to an end. And that's the end of episode 8. So, okay. We'll get into the storyline, plot, what people think of it first. And if it adds anything. Oh, shit. It's Inside Man, not on the stream. Sorry, mate. There you go. Thought you were in. Don't know. Did you drop out at one point?
Yeah.
Nobody loves me.
I think you dropped out.
I had a little bit of a tech issue at the start.
So, okay, mate. Yeah. No problem. It's all right. We haven't missed anything. All right. So we'll get into talking about the plot. Then we're going to go into cast and actors. So try to refrain from overlap if you can. But yeah, you've got sort of really, kind of two plot lines going on here. One is the bad meth that's on the street. The other is the widow and the kind of the cold case, which Dutch and Shane explore and ultimately solve. I guess there's a third plot with the girlfriend and boyfriend that keeps switching up, which ultimately leads to their murder. And then there's also the backstory of people being assigned to different teams, which actually I think's really good, and I wish we'd seen it again. But yeah, okay. So I want each of my guests to tell me one thing about a character that they learned in this episode that you feel you maybe didn't know about them before. And just a quick comment on the storyline for this episode. Northern, you can go first.
Yeah, well, I think it was with the relationship between Mackie and Julian, because even though they're basically he's basically an obstacle that could cost him his job, you're kind of wondering, does he actually feel a bit of sympathy for him after he has that little confession saying, I'm weak, I hate myself? Or is he just trying to manipulate him a little bit more? Like he's trying to get him more on his side because he could be a potential threat later on. He may have him now, but there's always a chance Julian could get him one day.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes with Mackie, he's so well humanized, you can't tell, can you, if he's scheming or if he's really being genuine. He's so. He's so sincere on the outside when he wants to be.
And plus you've also got. Plus there was also a part of me that was wondering, does Mackie kind of see a little bit of himself in Julian when he was starting out? I don't know, because Mackie. I have a feeling that Mackie probably was trying to be the hero, but you realised you had to sort of, well, not just bend the rules, just downright fucking throw them out in order to get the upper hand on the scumbags out on the streets.
So what do you feel you've learned about one of the characters that you haven't thus far?
Well, we are learning more and more that Doyle is becoming more and more human, and it's. I think maybe Julian is probably becoming more and more starting to realise that his way is not going to cut it. He's already kind of compromised himself here in this episode now, and it's starting to look like he may compromise himself more and more as it goes on.
Okay, Blue. Same question.
I like the fact that Shane, Shane's always an idiot and a wild card, but boy, he's I didn't realize how good his game was with women, taking advantage of sick and grieving women. Every line, like you said, Lance, my favorite line is they are so Walton Goggins is acting his face. He's like ripe. He's like so happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I did like the fact that Doyle was kind of repulsed by what he said. It kind of shows he's a bit of a gentleman, really.
You mean Dutch? You mean Dutch, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Dutch, yeah. Keep saying Doyle for some reason.
Doyle is a character in Grange Hill. He's not in this show.
Dutch, yeah.
Anyway, Blue, it's your turn. So, anything else, Blue, about the episode?
No, so just Shane, because like that's a side so far we haven't seen of Shane yet. Like we know he's had like girlfriends, but just like he'll do anything to get laid. I like that about. I don't know why I like that about him.
Yeah. Okay, Tox.
Yeah. So this was this is the episode that I really learned that Aceveda's wife. I don't know the character's name or the actress, but his wife, she is just 100% a climber. And if he is not providing a forward motion in his career, she's not into it. The whole, I really don't have time to do a little nookie. And as soon as he says, "Hey, I'm the new councilman," she's like, "Oh yeah, let's go right now." Like,
that's really turning me on. Yeah, she's up for a bit of boom boom. That's Camilla Monet, who plays Aurora.
Thank you.
Aurora's the character name.
Thank you.
Inside Man.
Yeah, well, I think we've already got a kind of sense of Dutch's competitive nature, but I think it really starts to kick in here. You really start to see him being a little bit more competitive with Shane in in terms of getting the girl first. I think that we're going to see a lot more of him being more and more competitive, and he just, he has aspirations of being a better cop. We actually saw this in previous episodes, certainly the last episode where, he was no, I think it was Cherry Poppers, wasn't it? Where he was really, starting to make himself known as a much better cop. But I think we're seeing a real competitive edge, really now coming out in Dutch.
Yeah, I would say, for me, this episode definitely sort of underscored Shane as a ladies' man who can turn on the charm and pretend to be super sensitive, which is the last thing he is when he wants to. I think it's the next episode. I think when, it's the next episode when Vic gets the call and it's on his day off. So I'll talk about that thing then. It's a good builder, this episode. It's not like the most gripping of episodes, but there's lots of stuff that happens. The interplay with Julian and Vic is really interesting. The different pairings is a lot of fun, especially Shane and Dutch. And then ultimately we learn, Dutch is actually quite a weak man when you think about it, because he knows he can go back to the woman's house. He knows he can get laid. He puts up a little fight, but not much of one when it's offered to him on a plate. And he knows that's, it's borderline. The ethics of that are a bit borderline. Actually, Tox, can you answer that question? What's back then in 2002, if a policeman met somebody during the course of an interview, not someone who was a suspect in a case, but they were just connected to a case, is dating that person considered an absolute no-no, or what's the attitude of the department?
If it can be proven in some way that it's moral turpitude, meaning that it may or may not muddy the waters of a case that has been closed or a case that might be ongoing, then it could be a serious problem. Or if there's some sort of quid pro quo involved, like a guy pulls somebody over and is like, "Hey, give me your phone number and I'll forget all about this ticket," which I actually investigated a cop that did that. So if it's something like that, it could be pretty bad. But if it's a case that's closed and doesn't really have anything to do with anything, I mean, it's not the best choice. So Dutch's hesitance is pretty warranted. So, I mean, but personally, I was a little bit more like Shane, as far as trying to get in somebody's pants. So, I mean, yeah.
That's very reassuring to know.
Well, I didn't wind up a criminal for no reason, Lance. It wasn't for clapping too loud in church.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'm sure that can happen in some churches. Yeah. Does anybody got anything else they want to say about story or plot before we move on to the actors and the characters for this episode?
Yeah, well, I do like the fact that
a couple of things I didn't really. There were a couple of things about this episode that. Sorry, mate.
No, sorry, go on. You haven't had your turn yet, have you?
Well, he did, but it's quick. Inside man, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah. All I was gonna say was that there were a couple of things that I didn't really buy about this episode. I didn't buy the whole speed of the investigation with the husband's friend. I just didn't buy the ease of it. It's I got a level. This was probably my least favorite episode. It didn't really do anything for me, and of course, all the stuff with Julian, it was so on the nose. I just thought, oh, wow, this is. I actually thought it was actually, and I'm sorry about this, but I think, in my opinion, I thought this was really quite a poorly written episode.
Wow,
that's interesting. I mean, don't forget that you've got quite a truncated running time. You've got an ensemble cast. Every dialogue's got a word of dialogue's got to mean something to the plot. It's got to take it further forward. There's not really any room to throw away stuff. I know what you mean in terms of compared to some of the other episodes, it isn't as strong. But a weak episode of The Shield is still better than, I would say, 90% of the television out there. I don't think there's a single episode of The Shield that I would rate less than 7 of all 7 seasons out of 10.
Absolutely.
But your point is, is made. Northern, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I do like the fact that we are seeing that Dutch is a bit of a gentleman. He kind of feels very uneasy about exploiting this woman who's still kind of just grieving, even though it's been a year. It's and it does add a nice little contrast to Shane, who was willing to fucking get into her pants as soon as he can. Because I mean, she is a very attractive woman, and it's once again you're getting opposites working well together.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, well let's move on to
Lance. May I contradict Inside Man just real quick? I'll make it fast.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is one of my more favorite episodes, actually. I love it's a little plot heavy, and yes, I do agree that the Julian stuff is a little bit on the nose, but not to the point that it pulled me out of it. I think I might disagree with you, Lance, about the coat thing with the widow. I think she was putting Dutch's coat in the middle of her husband's coat so that when he took it back, it would smell of her husband. That's what I think.
Oh, that's a good theory. I'll buy that.
I really liked Autumn Chickless, who plays Cassidy. I like the way that they pay that off, where she gets to be the big sister. I liked the follow up with the heavy girl and the 2 guys that are wooing for her affections, which leads to tragedy. I had a question for everybody else about that who has seen this show. Do I misremember that went on longer? I don't remember this. I feel like this was a multi-season thing.
I think the reason that we think it went on longer, and I know exactly what you mean, is because it's one of the things that's covered in the pilot.
Okay.
So we remember it from the pilot.
Yeah.
And I think there might be one other scene that picks it up on another episode very briefly, and then it's all back and forth with it here 3 times.
Sure. As far go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it just so it does feel. I know what you mean. It felt like it was spread over like almost the whole season, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. I do definitely think it is a little plot heavy, but I don't think it really detracts. Obviously, I don't care for the whole let's do something very specific with the strike team people, and then have 2 of the strike team out of, like, there's 4 members of the strike team. Is it really that hard to, like, where was, like you said, Lance, where was Lem and Ronnie? That was really took me out of the show a little bit.
I think the thing there is that they would be assigned with other detectives, and we don't have any other detective. I mean, there are other detectives in the office. You see them; they're extras, and they're in their cities.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
But we don't have. They would have had to have been assigned to other characters, and we don't have any other detective characters unless you're going to suddenly bring new characters in. So you just assume they're off somewhere else, which I think is fair enough.
I like the fact that I'm able to look at this show differently doing this for you or with you. As far as I see Vic completely differently now. I can remember thinking back in the day that Vic was being very altruistic and having a kind of code of honor in dealing with Julian and saying, hey, look, you had my back. I'm going to have your back now too. When in reality, as I spoke up last week, Vic is just being completely self-serving and wants Julian under his thumb, or at least in his pocket in some kind of way. I love Shane in this episode. He's so over the top. Being a horn dog. I like the recurring gag of Detective Gannon, who Dutch basically replaced, which gets paid off, I think, in like the 2nd or the 3rd season. We get to see, I think we get a peek of him real quick.
It's in the pre-pilot episode, I think we see him.
Co-pilot, yeah. And I like the assistant chief, and I like how Gilroy and how he interacts with Vic in this one, and I'll speak more on it in the upcoming episode. And I like you. I wish they had done more of the strike team guys switching off and pairing up with other people. That is very common. If you have a special operations team in law enforcement, very often, for whatever reason, not even just because it helps to share skills, they'll switch off with other detectives, other cops, other officers in some kind of way. And I thought not only did Dutch and Shane make a really good couple, a really good pairing. I like the fact that Claudette and Vic kind of goes back to his old school detective roots, and the 2 of them work very, very well together. I think you should have that. I don't think you should have 2 people that are exactly alike. I think you should have somebody that's kind of your opposite to kind of lend something with that. So yeah, overall, this is definitely one of my favorite episodes. Sorry to disagree with you, but yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, it's good to have someone on the screen to put the inside man in his place when he gets out of order. So
done.
Right. All right. Let's move on to cast and characters. As we said, Ronnie and Lem not in this episode, but plenty of other people are. So let's have a quick butchers at the various people. Oh, hang on a second. I need to move this over here. And let's see if I can. Yeah, so we got quite a few guest actors. I want to talk about the guest actors first. There's quite a few of them. So setting this up. So we've got KK Dodds plays Kim, who's the widow. Johnny Whitworth plays Effie Montecito, who's the guy basically behind the meth lab. You've got Dick Anthony Williams as the Reverend. Derek Hamilton as Paul. Paige Kennedy, Lama Tilton, and Jeremiah Burkett as Hooper. They're the 2 people that are fighting over Fran. Of course, we have Kathy Cahill Ryan again, back as Corinne Mackey. Camilla Monet as Aurora, seen in just a couple of brief scenes. You mentioned Autumn Chiklis already. She's very good, actually, in this show. But let's look at the 2 main guests first. So KK Dodds, who plays Kim. As far as I'm aware, she's not still acting, sadly. But, that's good news. Maybe I can get her to come on. Of the other things that she's done, and I thought she was very good, played the character really well. I remember her in Soldier. I remember her in Grosse Point Blank. I can't remember her in Spider-Man, even though I have seen it, but I only saw it once. I remember her in High Fidelity. Yeah, and that's it. And I would have seen her in NYPD Blue because I saw all of those episodes. But yeah, her last credit is 2017. So possibly not still acting, but I thought she was great. Johnny Whitworth has been around for quite a while. He's a tremendous actor. I've seen him in absolutely loads of stuff. Pretty interesting resume. He's got 52 acting credits, 5 producer credits. I have a feeling he's probably done quite a bit of stage work as well. But a lot of the usual things. He's particularly good in 3:10 to Yuma, which is a great Western. If people haven't seen it, you definitely should. This is one of his fairly early credits. But yeah, he's a solid actor. I like him. He's got an interesting face as well, and done some really different roles. I mean, he looks pretty different in that one. That's the Ghost Rider film that I've not seen. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. This is him in Empire Records with Liv Tyler, which is the first thing I ever saw him in. And I think he started out in Party of Five. I never watched Colony, although people have told me that's a good series. Yeah. So they're the sort of 2 main ones. We've got a couple of others. Dick Anthony Williams, who plays the Reverend. Does he come back in the show? I think he does.
He does.
Yeah,
yes,
I thought so. Yeah. Sadly, no longer with us. But he's been around for quite a while. Done loads of things. 104 acting credits. So clearly a guy who was always working. So yeah. And I dare say he probably did a fair bit of stage work as well. And he was married to Gloria Edwards. So there we are. Yeah, so the supporting cast are always pretty good. I'm curious to see if the girl who played Fran went on to greater things. Ailey Bollenbacher. Bollenbacher? Is that how you say that?
I'm guessing it's Backer.
Acting credits 4. So I think she looks like she's a nun now. I don't know if that's a still from a film. Apparently it's a still from a film. Okay. Yeah. So anybody want to say anything about the supporting cast before we talk about the leads?
Yeah, I actually really like the guy who played the father. I thought he was really good. The way he really went in on his son. I thought that was how I would have reacted. I would have reacted exactly the same way and would have gone fucking mental.
Well done for mentioning him. That actor was, and I felt like I'd seen that actor in some other shows. That actor's Robert Silver. No headshot here.
He was really
still
good.
around, but he's got 39 acting credits. I felt like I'd seen him in something before, and it would have been NYPD Blue I would have seen him in.
Right. Yeah.
Because I watched
every episode. I thought his reaction that was such a natural reaction. I thought the kind of reaction that I think any parent would give if they were in that same situation. I didn't buy the guy, the brother who kept speaking like this. I gotta turn off my brother's machine, man. I didn't like him at all.
That was that actor I think was it was Derek Hamilton. So this guy.
Yeah, I did. I just
that's the one who gets his face thrust on.
Yeah,
I mean, he was right.
I just thought I genuinely thought the guy couldn't act. I really did. I just thought it was, putting on this voice, man. My brother, man.
Someone got out of the wrong side of bed this morning. Anyway, okay.
I thought it was just intentional, though. I thought it was intentional because he was obviously hiding something as well, wasn't he? He was obviously putting on an act.
Well, indeed, that's true. All right, let's talk about the leads and who stole the episode. I think for me, it's probably going to be Shane. On this one, Walton Goggins. I just love the scenes with him and Dutch. They're all really great. But I just he's got some really good lines. He's just got some really good moments, and I loved seeing him play up the whole manipulative, sweet talking side, which we haven't really seen before.
But we will see again.
We will see again. We'll see a lot more of it involving the famous penis flytrap. So Guilfoyle's only got a couple of scenes, but he's really good. This actor was good. I liked this actor. Do it now. That was a question I had. Does he come back in the show? I can't remember. I don't remember if he does or not. Does anyone remember?
Who are you showing us, Lance?
Oh, hang on. I've got the wrong screen.
That's okay.
Open. You're still on Robert Silver. Let me get this. My apologies. Here we go. Jonathan Neal Schneider.
I don't believe so. I don't.
Because
I recall.
It's kind of set up that he might be like a new adversary for Vic. Like you're on my radar now. That's not a good place to be. And I was trying to remember. Did we ever see this guy again?
Yes.
We do.
We do.
Darth, who's watched the whole show, all 7 seasons of it recently for the first time. And yeah, good to have you on, mate. Sorry, I forgot to send you the link earlier. When does he come back? Is it next season?
I don't remember when, but I do remember seeing him again.
I'll find out. Give me a minute. I'll find out.
Well, we don't have to spoil it now. We just So this is Robert Silver, who Inside Man was complimenting on his acting. Yeah, and I remember him in an episode of ER as well. He plays like an angry doctor who gets upset over something. So yeah, and there's KK Dodds. That's the lady running the school. This is the guy who plays Ari, Christopher Newman, another guest actor. So yeah, Jamie Anderson. So yeah, for me it's Shane's episode. It's always a hard call because all the cast are so good. It's always hard to say, but Darth, who takes this episode for you?
I like this episode a lot.
Yeah, but which actor do you think earns the Spurs on this one?
Honestly, probably. Vic's such an easy answer but it honestly is because he has just so many quips and one-liners that I can't give it to anybody but Vic.
Okay. All right. Blue.
Yeah, I'm going with Vic. Much I love Shane, Vic as well, because like Plato said, thing is he's being an ass towards Aceveda, but also with this thing with Jillian, like Lord Toxic would say, you think that he's building a friendship. It's hard to tell with him, but the fact that like once Jillian's on the side, he starts warming up to Jillian, and also at the end, he is a good father, and he shows that because having autistic kids not easy. On top of like, why is my little brother going, doing these weird things, and he sits down and talks to his daughter about why his son is the way he is for, and I just love Vic's his arc in this episode.
Yeah. Agree with all of the above. Toxic. Is Toxic on the toilet? What's going on? Hello? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. My Wi-Fi pooped out for a second. I apologize.
Hate it when the Wi-Fi poops. Okay. Yeah. Which actor stands out for you the most in this episode? Hard call, I know.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't like to pick Vic because it's just like 7 seasons and it's a Vic show, so you could easily just fall into calling for Vic each and every single episode. I'm gonna give it to Aceveda, really, just because we get to see him go through so many different emotions and everything, like the points where he thinks he's got Vic, and then he thinks he's got this hooked up with the city council thing, and then he's playing the dutiful husband and trying to portray this good captain that has all the right answers and stuff, and then he gets the rug pulled out from under him and he kind of loses his shit a little bit, and he starts to see it slipping away from him, but he still needs Vic. I always love the fact that he still needs Vic at the end of the day. You know, it never comes to the point where he's just like, at least not when he's in charge. He never just is like, no, you're on a desk. You're on a desk. I'm not even going to deal with you. You're just going to a desk, which would be exactly what somebody would do in real life if that happened. So, yeah, but because Vic still gets him the arrests, he still gets the stuff done. So unless he's really got Vic in his gun sights, he just kind of lets Vic do what he does, you know.
The actor in this shot, Jeremiah Burkett, plays one of the boyfriends of Fran. He's done pretty well for himself. He's got 106 acting credits now, and this is like way down the list.
Wow.
He's in LA Confidential, isn't he? He's one of the guys who
yes,
who gets killed at the beginning.
Yes.
Oh God, yeah. I thought I recognized his face.
To leave.
Good catch. Blue Collar, you recognize the other boyfriend, right? From Justified.
Yeah, I forgot the character's name. It's been a while, but I did recognize him.
He was the one that challenges him to a quick draw.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, he's been acting since 1989, and he's still going on the show Them, which was the last thing he worked on. He's done some music production stuff as well, so pretty interesting. Yeah. So Northern, which character for you? Anything you want to say about the actors in general?
I was gonna say Shane or Severi, but I think I am warming a little bit more to Claudette because she is a little bit more honest than the other guys, but at the same time, she's not as morally self-righteous as Julian is. She's kind of because she knows the score. She's honest, but at the same time, she still knows that Vic is a necessary evil to unleash onto these suspects. You know, who are not giving them the answers they need to progress the investigation. So she's kind of moral, but at the same time, she's not. She's smart. She knows this job. She knows that sometimes you have to get your hands dirty a little bit.
Yeah, agree with all of that. Inside Man. Dare I ask?
I'm going to have to say. I'm gonna have to say. I mean, I love Vic. I mean, I absolutely adore Vic. But I have to say, in this episode, Vic / Claudette, I thought their little teaming up was terrific. I would have loved to have seen more of that, and I would love to have seen that carry over to, a few more episodes. But actually, yeah, I agree with what Northern was saying actually about Claudette, because she doesn't. She's not one to really wear her heart on her sleeve. She doesn't get that sort of emotionally involved in the cases. She's very, she's very much the kind of
detached
cop that does her job. Yeah, she knows how to detach herself. Yeah, exactly. That. And there is that. Although we know that she is a very moral character, she is very morally minded. But she has that detachment where you can kind of see that she is able to, maybe because she's a little bit more of a veteran than some of the others, that she is able to kind of live a life outside of the job. But yeah, in terms of character, I think that Vic Claudette merging, that sort of melding of those two, I thought that was almost like a really good single character there. I thought they were both terrific, actually.
I love the respect they have for each other as well. I mean, even though they're kind of got different methods of working.
Yeah, I like the when Vic goes, yeah, I like your way.
Yeah, because it devolves into chaos. Even though she tried to do it right. It devolved into that. I like your way.
That massive punch up in the interrogation room. Okay, so we're going to move on to your favorite line from the episode and your favorite scene. Sometimes they may be both, or they can be different. My favorite line is definitely Shane going, "That one's been on the vine for a year. She is right." It's my favorite line by far. Always remember that line. Knew it was coming up when I watched this episode again. It just really stuck in my head, especially the way he says it. In terms of favorite scene, I probably think the scene with Vic and Julian in the toilet where, he's giving it the "I'm not gay and you were there for me, I'm there for you." It's really well acted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was only there for you were blackmailing him, for fuck's sake. I love it. It just cracks me up.
Yeah, I mean, the ghoul on Vic, but at the same time, he's trying to sort of still play the "look, I'm your friend, really" card, and he's convincing as well, you know. And Julian's like really lost and confused, and he's sort of taking advantage of that as well. But it's a great scene. It says a lot about both the characters in just like 4-5 lines of dialogue, and that's something that this show does really well. So that's mine.
He's up to something though, because he even talks Catherine McCormick's character into remaining partners with him. So it's like,
yeah. He gives it that, you know, he's just a kid. He deserves a second chance and all that. Darth, do you have a favorite line or moment or both from this episode?
Yeah, sure do. I'll start with the scene first. Now, there's a lot of good scenes. What you mentioned was a great scene. Aceveda going up on Julian, like, I'm gonna bring you up on charge. That's a good scene too. But there's another scene that's a bit more subtle, and that it relies on you seeing the one of the previous episodes where Dutch was over at Danny's house helping her to study, and I have to help my friend. And, oh, sure, I'll just get out of your way. And then, of course, Vic comes over and Dutch sees Danny with Vic. So in this episode, Dutch is helping the I forgot her name, the lady that comes into the
widow.
Yeah, the widow.
Kim.
Yeah.
You're talking about the line where I've got a friend in crisis.
Yeah. Now the line itself isn't a great line per se, but
it's the same line Danny used on him.
Exactly. He's turning the tables.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of rotten, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of good though.
And also he's looking at Shane and turning around like what is your problem, pal? What kind of guy are you? And at the end of the episode, he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Great.
He does.
He does. Yeah. As far as the best line goes, there's so many good one-liners in this episode. Like, yeah, your dad's a lawyer. My dad was a bricklayer. We're definitely doing this my way. And you know what he did? He took that kid over there. That's a great line.
Yeah.
They'll grow up real fast in San Quentin is a good line. I think it's a good line because it's ironic for me because I can actually walk to San Quentin. I live right down the road from there. I like doing things your way. Somebody already mentioned that. A great scene, actually, another good scene is when the perp is with his dad, and the dad just goes absolutely ballistic.
Yeah, that's
investigation. Like, wow, that's
can only pick one. You can only pick one.
I gotta pick one. Come on, man. Okay. If I have to pick one, I'll go. If I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna go with hey, Super Cup. You know every bad guy. I will after we get this guy.
Okay. All right, Blue.
Yeah, my favorite line was when Vic and Julian, because Vic looks at Julian, he goes, in exact words are, "You can't go through life hating who you are," because you know Vic right there, he could have hazed him more, he could have made fun of him more, but now that Jay's okay, Julian, you did me a favor. But also, I feel like Vic actually means that because a lot of, number one, not a lot of men, a lot of also guys in law enforcement, and Julian obviously is a heavy Christian. A lot of people do have gay thoughts or are gay, and they go through that like, well, Vic, I'm weak, I'm a weak man, I shouldn't be like this, I'm too righteous. And Vic looks at him like, no, he's like, you can't do that to yourself. And it could be Vic said just bullshitting, but like Chiklis's performance, I really feel like Vic means it, where he's like, yeah, you can't do that to yourself. If you're gonna be gay, stop suppressing that. And I thought it was a good line.
Yeah good stuff. Segueing on nicely from the gay thoughts to Lord Toxic. What are your picks?
Yeah, nothing better than some gay thoughts. Anyway, so best scene definitely. Cassidy, the daughter, acting. She's getting a lot of brunt because the mother is so terrible. So the daughter is getting the brunt of the autistic brother and not really understanding. She's young herself, and Vic's just like, I need you to kind of, just be a good big sister. And then later without telling, but showing, she just kind of is like, here, this is how we eat our pizza. Just something very, very simple. It didn't have to be like, Daddy, is this a good time to be the big sister helping now? Like, she doesn't do that. She just does it. We remember it. We see it. It's show, don't tell. Love it. Great scene. And then best line was, and best line, because we quoted it every day at work for like a month, was Shane wants to go to the monster truck rally with me tonight.
Yeah. That is a good line. I wonder if they went to the monster truck rally.
I like to headcanon that they did in fact go, that he just found a reason and he went with Shane to the monster truck rally. I think that would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look at Dutch seemed like he was actually excited about it too. Like he was looking forward to going to it.
I like Dutch. I like Dutch and Shane. I like Claudette and Vic. I like it. I think, like I said before, I think it works good.
Yeah, it's a shame we can't have a spin-off show called, Dutch and Shane. But
spoilers.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not doable. So, Northern.
Is this favorite scene or favorite line? Do apologize.
You don't have one?
No, sorry. Is this favorite scene or favorite line?
It's both.
Oh, both. Well, it is the Shane line. You know, she's been on the van for a year. I know everyone's saying it, but it is in my notes as well. As soon as he said that, I was laughing. That's going right in my notes. It's such a funny line. But as we're saying, it's the one you're showing right now. It's just like this guy, we need to get this restraining order against your ex-boyfriend. It's like, but I still see him when he helps me up with shopping. Oh, hell no, you're sounding there, shit. It just cracks me up. It really does. These people are idiots, but it just made me laugh. It really did. No reaction.
Okay. Anything else?
I do kind of like the scene where Acevedo has this confrontation with Vic because he's not fool. He knows he got to Julian, and he just slams that door, smashing the window, and it does pretty much humanize him a little bit. This episode actually really does humanize Acevedo a bit more, and I kind of like that, even though he's a bit of a scumbag.
Acevedo, not Acevedo.
Acevedo. But yeah.
Yeah, because what Luke was nor the English saying is that because in real life, everyone knows that a lot of toxic relationships, a lot of women, they put these restraining orders and take them back, put them on, take them back. I've heard about it, and toxic would know about that as a police guy in his.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
Yeah, I wonder where that was going for a minute.
But it is all too common that a lot of, especially domestic violence cases in America, cops they get sick and tired of getting called back to the same location 9, 10, 11, fucking 12 times.
Yeah. Yeah, that can happen. Okay. Yeah, so Inside Man. Dare we ask what your favorite line or moment was when it ended?
Favorite line. I'm actually with Blue on this one. You can't go through life hating who you are. I think that's a great line. It's a terrific line. Favorite scene. It really is where the dad explodes. I mean, it's I really enjoyed that very brief moment where the guy just flips. And I thought, this just looked real. It looked real when this guy just flipped his flop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just thought, that's the dad I want to be.
That's the dad everybody should be. Instead, we'd have less problems if dads were like that. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. There was quite a lot of I feel like the kid had, in that scene, there was a whole lot of history given between the father and son in that scene and the way that the son reacted to him. And I wondered if the father had always been like that, perhaps a bit too much, which is why the kid went the way he did. I wonder.
I just thought he was a privileged shit. I just thought he was a privileged kid who just expected to be bailed out every single time.
Yeah.
And my dad's gonna sort this out again for me, that kind of thing.
This freeze image, if you look at Aurora's face, she looks fucking psycho in this image. Like she's a vampire. She's about to eat him. That's a pretty scary look. All right, okay, so we'll wrap up this episode.
Hey, Lance.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention at the very end of the episode where they're playing the music and Dutch is in the shower and they show the widow taking out a gun and looking at Dutch's gun and doing a weird thing with the suits.
Yeah.
What was the point of that scene?
I think in my mind, because technically the woman could still be quite unstable, I think they wanted to demonstrate how that could have gone really badly wrong.
Right, that's where I thought they were going with it.
Well, I did wonder if that was going to happen, and I thought they were going to do more with the storyline with her actually in the show, maybe even through to the second season, but that it didn't play out that way. But you know, they'll often plant seeds for things that they won't explore later. And that's quite common in a show like this, but they plant lots of seeds to see which ones bear fruit, to use a Shane line.
Oh, I see you're going with that. Okay, so it's not necessarily a checkout gun moment where they could have just got rid of it. You think that they were thinking about doing something with it, but
well, I think that, you know, at that time probably season 2 wouldn't have been written. You would have had a storyline for however many seasons you were thinking the show was going to run for, like an overall storyline. But the individual subplots and other characters that come in on a weekly basis, some of them will work and they might take further, and some of them won't. So they'll set things up. I always thought that Dutch was going to turn out to be I thought he was going to turn out to be a serial killer.
I thought that too.
Yeah. After the whole thing with the cat, that's what I thought that was gonna happen with him.
Oh, spoiler!
But yeah, well, anyway, we'll get to that. Yeah, no cats were harmed during the filming of that episode. Yeah, okay. So out of 10 for me, it's a solid 8. It's not the most gripping of episodes, but there's a lot of good character development, particularly with Julian and Vic. I like a lot of the other things. I like the scene with Vic and Julian's boyfriend, and Vic laying down the law. You know, you got to be out of his life because it just means that he's going to be harder to control. The scene with Guilfoyle.
Gilroy.
Telling Vic, I don't have your back anymore. So we know if Vic fucks up again, he's got no one looking out for him. So there's a lot of stuff that's interesting development stuff. But yeah, solid 8 out of 10 for me. Darth.
Maybe I'm overestimating the episode, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm gonna give it a 10.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
That's right. Yeah, it's a fruit ripe for plucking. This episode, Blue.
Yeah, with you, Lance, solid 8. I will say that to counter that, what you're saying, Lance, is with Vic and Jillian's boyfriend. He may have nefarious reasons for saying what he said, but also Vic wasn't wrong. Everything he said to Jillian's boyfriend, he was right.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because the guy's got a rap sheet for he's got a rap sheet for basically scamming people. And that'd be a lot of gay men in that context. So yeah. Yep. Okay. Next.
Yeah. So 9.5 for me. This is not an episode I remember off the top of my head, but again, I can't thank you enough for having us do this, because it got me to revisit this episode, and I was just sitting there at the bookstore laughing and just taking notes and just really enjoying this episode. I'm sorry that Inside Man has such a low opinion of it. I mean, I can only attribute that to him getting on in age and
grumpy old man syndrome.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe his hemorrhoids are acting up. I'm not really sure. I don't know much about old people because I don't associate with them because there's no point.
Well, that's why he doesn't come on camera, because he's like 79. So
yeah, they're fairly useless. They're fairly useless. But I also like a lot how, like you said, Lance, if I can caveat on what you said a little bit, it gives so much development to so many of these characters and gets us to see sides of them, you know, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the whole switch up thing is really cool, and I like what that does for the characters. I like because it pulls you out of your kind of your comfort zones, and people get to do other stuff and other methods, and they get to see how the other people react and whatnot. I really like that. So again, though, I got to tell you guys give Vic too much credit. I just, you guys don't see that the reason why Vic doesn't want this little gay scammer around Julian has nothing to do with altruistic reasons. He wants to remove any other, because the little gay kid was like, he's not going to change his story. He's going to stick to what he's saying. It doesn't matter what you do to me. Vic wants to remove anything else but himself, because Vic is a master manipulator, and he wants to be the one to save Julian's day. I mean, it's not like he's going to make love to Julian, but he wants Julian to see him as Big Daddy Vic. He doesn't want him letting this little guy put the wrong message in his ear. That's what you do to someone you're manipulating. You remove all other outside voices that may give them dissenting opinions.
That's exactly right.
A question there, Toxic, because I was very I was actually questioning. Okay, is he? Why is he being so sympathetic to him? He's got something. He's up to something.
Yeah, Vic is evil, guys. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I Vic is an evil. He is. You got to start looking at him more like Tony Soprano and less like Raylan Givens. You know,
wait, Tony Soprano is evil?
Yeah, it's shocking. I know.
So instead of having the angel and the devil on your shoulder, it's Vic on your shoulder.
Right. Yeah. Very, very, very good. Let's move on. Northern, what's your rating out of 10?
Yeah, writing my notes, it's 8 out of 10. It wasn't my total favourite, but there was enough dark humour and there was enough Vic Mackey, like really twisted, turning the screws in and to keep up the momentum.
By the way, while we've been on air, my copyright strike against our Nielsen ratings when we did a James L. Jones special, we got copyright flag for showing his showreel. I strongly protested, and it has been withdrawn. So
nice.
That's the spirit of Darth Vader in action.
Good stuff.
That's
good stuff.
nonsense. How can you not, like, if you're doing a honorary show about somebody, how can you not show
YouTube,
clips of their work? Come on, man.
They're just trying to piggyback off the revenue. That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, it's usually a bot for somebody that's, whoever. All right. Okay, good. Inside Man, the most important rating of all for this episode. What are you giving it? Drum roll, please.
Being my least favorite episode, it's going to have to be
Oh, we've lost transmission, so that vote doesn't count this week.
Internet,
Oh, you just missed it. You missed it. You missed it, sadly. So yeah, it's as low as an 8, I'm afraid. So
I thought you were going to give it a 6.
That's not bad.
No. I mean that's. I mean, as you said quite rightly, a poor episode of this is considerably better than the best episode of an awful lot of what we're getting now. So, and I think that's a justifiable statement to make. It is my least favorite, and there are a couple of little niggles that about it, but I don't personally think that it would warrant anything less than an 8. I still enjoyed it. I still was really into it. And I agree with Toxic. I mean, in terms of the situation with Vic. I mean, but I love that. I love those sort of machinations of Vic Mackey. I love it. I love his constantly. He's constantly juggling. His footwork is all over the place. He's just juggling all the time, and it just seems to me that he's somebody that maybe mistakenly at one point got in a little bit too deep, and now everything's repair job. Everything that he has to do, he's repairing mistakes. He's repairing these different things. But whilst he's repairing them, he's turning a little bit to the dark side. And I kind of like that. I like the darkness of his character. The fact that he's not, he's not. he's not even morally ambiguous. I think I mentioned that he was. I don't even think that he is morally ambiguous. He is completely immoral until you see him with his family.
Yeah. That definitely does bring out the sympathetic.
Well, it's pretty incongruous how he's gonna ruin Julian's life. Do what I say, or I'm gonna ruin your life. And then the next thing you know, he's offering tickets to the basketball game.
Yeah. Is the ticket to the basketball game, is that in this episode or is that next episode?
That's this episode.
It is this episode. I did make a note of that. Yeah, that's that was funny. He just like leaves them on the table, doesn't he? And Julian doesn't even want to take them. But I don't think we see a shot of him at the basketball game, so we don't know if he goes. I think he probably doesn't go.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah. Okay. So
hey Lance, cool little trivia thing. The song that she's playing, the widow's playing while Dutch is in the shower post coitus.
Yeah.
One of the lines is "Pay and Pain," which is the name of the previous episode.
Interesting. I wonder if that was supposed to be the name of this episode originally, or if that's just
I don't know.
It's just an Easter egg for fun.
I only noticed it because I had the captions on. It's nothing that you can find in any trivia thing. So
okay, all right. Let's move on to episode 9. Okay, so are these the stills for 9? No, these are.
Yeah. I was just in like previously on. It's been given.
Okay. Oh, this is previously on. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let me run through the episode is called Throwaway. And as per usual, this one's directed by Leslie Libman. Sean Ryan and Kurt Sutter, of course, are credited as writers. The other writer on this episode is Kevin Acady. Not familiar with that name. Let me just have a quick look, see what else he's doing. African-American writer. He's done 89 episodes of New York Undercover, which was a cop show in the 90s. I don't think I've actually seen that. I'm amazed that one got by me. Did you watch that, Toxic? Is it any good, worth seeing? Hello? Toxic, come in. Hello? We lost him.
Maybe he's got a phone call, sir.
Oh, has he got a phone call?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll come back to that. But yeah, so Kevin Acady is a writer of some considerable experience. Yeah, he's done quite a bit. So yeah, let's race through the plot. So it starts off with a rather violent truck hijack. Basically, the Los Mags, which are a Hispanic Mexican gang, are beating up the driver, stealing the goods out the back. Ronnie and Lem are in this episode. We kind of see them straight up from the beginning, so we know they're going to be in this episode. That there's a major plot line for Lem in this ep, which we'll get into. We cut to Vic at home with the kids. It's his day off, but even on his day off, he's not actually doing that much to help the wife at that particular moment. Like, this guy's got to eat too. And then Vic gets a call. You know what? He didn't really have to go in. He could have said, it's my day off. I'll pick up the case tomorrow. I think he's just looking for an excuse to leave the house. And then like when he's motioning to go, Matthew runs and grabs hold of his leg and doesn't want to let go. And the wife is kind of having a breakdown. She says, I've hardly slept. I need a break. So anyway, Vic goes to see his contact, which is a Los Mags tattoo parlor. As a result of that, they get a name, they get an address. They go to that address. A suspect in the house goes to run. And his sister is also in the house. He trips over a hose wire in the garden, turns around, says, okay, puts his hands up. He's holding a carton of cigarettes. There they are, which Lem thinks is a gun, and then shoots the suspect. Vic panics, and they plant a gun on him. And then as they're leaving the house, The girl identifies the person who's been shot, and we realize that it's not the suspect they were looking for. Acevedo goes, "You shot the wrong guy." Cuts to opening credits. I love that. So Acevedo and Julian have a scene. And Acevedo basically tells Julian what his punishment is. And he says he's on 1 month's probation. And then after that, we're seeing he's going to dock him a week's pay. Lem, meanwhile, is back interviewing the sister. And she, this is in the hospital, or they're waiting to find out. She basically says that her brother actually isn't in the Lost Mags anymore. He's dropped out some time ago. And that character is played by Liz Gelamita, for anyone who's interested. And we'll talk about the guest actors in a little bit. So then we can see that Lem's kind of sweet on this girl straight away. There's something quite fun about Lem's character, the way he's a bit two-dimensional, but that's kind of what makes him endearing. Meanwhile, Dutch and Claudette are in the office, and she is visited by her dad, Professor Wims. I love this whole subplot. They go to investigate a case where the son is being chained outside the house. Sorry, the father has been chained by the son outside the house because the son can no longer afford the care home. Dutch and the father are kind of bonding, and we can see that annoys Claudette, which is great. Claudette gets the suspect in the interview room, and there's a great line where he says, "I'm divorced," and Claudette replies, "Surprise me some more," because she's not surprised. Lem, meanwhile, checks in with the parole officer for the suspect, who remembers him by name. How come you remember him? Well, I remember the good ones. Meanwhile, we find out that Claudette's daughter is in town, and the reason that she's come to see her is that her marriage is over, but she has a new fiance, and she wants her mother to meet him. Dutch, in the meantime, offers to show the father round the station just when she thought she got rid of him. So then we hear that there has to be protection for the girl, for the sister. So Lem is kind of assigned to protect him. Now they realize that they planted a gun on the guy who's completely innocent. He's no longer in the gang life. He's actually trying to make good. And Lem says, "Look, we've got to clear this guy. So we've got to make the gun disappear." So they have to work out a way to break into the evidence room to steal the gun and get rid of it. And actually, Vic gives Julian the baseball tickets in this episode. Not the last episode. It's in this episode. Len goes to sit on the apartment with the sister. And then she shows Lem the knife wounds that she got the previous night. Vic and Ronnie, meanwhile, are sitting on Hector's place, who is the main suspect in the robbery and is the ex-boyfriend of the sister, and he's the one who knifed her up. Lem, being all hero-like, turns up on his bike, being all hard, beats the shit out of Hector, nearly gets himself killed. They have to come in, and Ronnie and Vic have to come in and help him out. Lem's like, "I was going to teach the guy a lesson." Yeah, well, if you'd waited 15 to 20 minutes longer, that would have been a great lesson, because then they would have had him on an actual criminal offense. Dutch, meanwhile, learns loads about his partner, Claudette, such as she trained to be a classic dancer in Paris. We find out the son's been cashing in the social security checks for the mother. Meanwhile, Danny gets called into Acevedo's office, and she's told she failed the sergeant's exam by 3 points, but he says, "You're going to pass it next time." Lem is sitting on the girl. He's very sweet on her. He confesses to the girl that he shot her brother. She's a bit upset by this, rather unsurprisingly. The Lost Mags drive past in a threatening manner. Meanwhile, Ronnie is just trying to distract the girl on the evidence room, who's called Yakuza. That doesn't quite work out, so they have to figure out another way to get rid of the gun. Claudette, meanwhile, meets her daughter in the station, Rebecca, and they agree to go to dinner on the corner to meet the new boyfriend, Warner. We find out that Claudette's pet name is Peaches. When she meets the boyfriend, doesn't go down too well, and she's trying to figure out if he wants a wife or a babysitter for his 2 kids. And the dad says, "Well, I guess everybody's finally talking. Let's go to dinner." So Dutch's girlfriend, Kim, from the last episode, comes into the station to see him. She wants him to come by to her house, clearly. Claudette sees them kissing, has a big smirk. So does Danny. And then, Dutch has to explain, "Oh, I've been seeing Kim. It's new." Question for the panel when I get to the end of this bit is, do we think Danny's a little bit gutted now that Dutch is seeing someone? There's a lot going on in her expression at the end of that scene. Vic and Julian have it out again, and Julian basically says to Vic, "Look, you're not my friend, so stop pretending you are." Claudette, meanwhile, follows up on the case, and the mother that's involved with this family that they think is dead is actually still alive. And she doesn't want to have anything to do with the father or the son, and she hangs up the phone on them. Lem goes back to Hector and invites all 3 of them to come and fight him at a certain time and place. There'll be no other police there. And they say, "Okay, it's on." Vic, meanwhile, gets a face full of arse in a tattoo parlor. Wash your hands first. To talk to the guy again to find out some more clues. Vic and his team then disguise themselves as Lost Mag gang members and rob the evidence van. Have to say, I think that was a bit of a stretch. But they basically frame Hector for the robbery, having set him up to be in a different location that's not a million miles away, which has got him out of his house. Claudette and her daughter come back to the station. Claudette sees an opportunity to give the boyfriend a tour, so she ends up putting him in the interrogation room and effectively interrogates him about his intentions with her daughter. Well, why not? She's the mother. So Vic raids Hector. They've set him up. They plant the gun. And Aceveda, in the meantime, back at the station, sits down Danny and Julian. Basically says, "Look, you guys have got to work this out. I'm not going to put you with anyone else until you can work well together. And if you don't work well together, I'm going to make you sit down and both see a shrink." They don't want to do that. Vic then has it out with his wife again. That's not going too well. And then we have this scene with the old man that they found chained up outside the house. And Claudette asks him, "Why do your kids hate you so much?" And he replies, "Because I was a bastard." And it's at that point where she realizes that she's being so difficult with her kids that they're just going to end up hating her. So she agrees to go for a second dinner with the daughter and the new boyfriend. I thought that was a really nice payoff. Lem goes back to hang out with the sister, T-Grade. He confesses that they planted the gun and whatever. She doesn't care, and Lem gets a shag. So the moral of the story is it's okay to plant a gun on an innocent suspect as long as you get to shag the sister. That's what we mainly learned from this episode. Okay, so yeah, quite a lot happens. Throwaway episode 9. We've got 3 main plot lines. We've got the Lost Mags thing, the wrong suspect getting shot. We've got the Claudette father in town. Absolutely love that actor. I've seen him in a gazillion things, and we'll talk about him when we get to the actors. I like the fact that Lem gets a bit of a kind of romantic storyline, and we sort of get to see Lem's soft side, even though he's a complete idiot as well. So that's another storyline. Yeah, and then there's just more stuff sort of unfolding with various characters. Really liked this episode, mainly because Claudette's dad turns up unannounced and starts bonding with Dutch. That, for me, that whole thread is superb. Just really like it. So I like the fact that now we get to sort of find out things about Claudette that she definitely didn't want Dutch to know, like she used to at one point be trying to be a ballerina. Vic's home life is falling apart. Yeah, it's a good episode. So sticking with story and narrative, and a question for all of my panelists as well is, how do we think Danny feels now she knows Dutch is actually seeing somebody? Darth, you get to go first.
I don't think she really minds. I don't really think that he was serious about him to begin with. If she was, she wouldn't have pushed him off to be with Vic that one night.
I've got a different opinion on that, but I'll come back to it. Blue, what's your thoughts on that particular question?
Yeah, same. I mean, I look at her seeing Dutch as just a friend, and more like everybody's happy but her, and like she can't keep relationships, so Dutch is doing good, and yeah, everyone's having good relationships except for Danny. She's just lonely.
Can you get? Have you got the episode to hand on your machine?
I can pull it up.
Yeah, can you pull it up and pull up that scene? And I'll tell you why in a minute, but we'll watch a tiny bit of it, not enough to get copyright strike. Northern, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, she probably is trying to make it out like she's okay, but thing is, though, women want what they can't have, so there's a part of her that's regretting not getting with Dutch.
Yeah, I'm partly with you on that. Inside Man.
I think that she's really pissed off at herself, really, because he's like the attainable guy, whereas others within the station are unattainable. And I think she's kind of pissed off at herself that she's let, this one relatively decent, attainable guy slip through her fingers.
Yeah. Interesting. Tox.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, Lance, and I want everybody watching and everybody that's on the panel, listen up to Lance because he's about to school you on exactly a woman's nature. They are 100% more attracted to you when someone else has you. Oh, if you could be the same guy, same face, same job, same body, same everything, personality, and they don't care nothing for you. As soon as you have a woman on your arm, that's when they want you. So invest in a fake wedding ring, or just do the simple thing, have someone that's kind of stupid and mid. They don't even have to be attractive chicks. I mean, it helps if they are, but just get someone stupid and mid, and the other ones will just come flocking towards you. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I basically was going to say exactly the same thing. If I don't know if Blue can find the scene, but if you watch Danny's face, and Catherine Dent is such an amazing actress. I mean, I keep complimenting the cast all the time, but it's always warranted. But she's so good at underplaying stuff, but showing you that there's a lot going on. If you watch her reaction after Dutch says, yeah, well, it's new. We're seeing what happens. And she kind of gives him a smile. And then when she turns away, there's a kind of look of something else. And that look to me is, oh, shit, maybe I should have gone for it. And you're right. It's always like, sometimes it's an unconscious game that is played. And God, I was talking to somebody about this just yesterday. Like about, when you get older, you think it would be easier because you think people would be done with playing games, and you could ask somebody out on a date and you'd get a straight up yes or no, instead of all this kind of back and forth and nonsense. But yeah, it's not the case. It's there's always faff.
No.
Are we at the right spot, mate? Did you find it?
I'm scrolling through Hulu's got ads, so
it's I think it's yeah, it's sort of about 2/3 in, probably about something like about 10-15 minutes before the end, I think.
Yeah, I was waiting for the Hulu ads to dissipate because
Okay, you're right. You carry on with that. Sticking with the narrative again, for the episode, story-wise, we learn quite a lot about Claudette in this episode. This is really Claudette and Kenny Johnson's episode. Kenny Johnson gets a great little storyline. So we learn quite a bit about him, and then we get this kind of, the father of Claudette turning up, and played by Roscoe Lee Brown, who's a fantastic television, movie and screen actor, a veteran of some years, sadly no longer with us. But yeah, it's great that they got him to be perfect actor to play Claudette's dad. Yeah, so what else did we learn about people, or what do people think of the storyline? Inside Man, give me your thoughts.
I wasn't particularly enamored with it, to be honest with you, and I've got a theory. Okay, I have a theory
today,
about this.
Yeah, I've got a theory about you, but yeah, go on.
I got this theory about this episode, right? Okay, and my theory is this: there's nothing really that we have that progresses anything in the previous storylines regarding the major characters in this. There's nothing that really pushes them on. Right? There's nothing that makes them go forward. You know, everything kind of reaches a little bit of a standstill here in terms of each of the main characters. And my theory is that that's the reason why this episode is actually called Throwaway, because it's a throwaway episode. It doesn't really progress anything. Look, I may be completely wrong, but I'll level with you. I didn't like the stuff with Claudette's dad and her daughter and her daughter's fiance. I didn't like that. It didn't do anything. It did nothing. I mean, it might have given you a couple of little bits and pieces about Claudette's background, but those bits of her background are completely irrelevant to anything regarding her character thus far. I don't know whether it's going to have any bearing on her character in the future, but it has no bearing on anything that she's done or been involved with so far. And that's my theory. That's why I think that this is actually. Oh right, okay, but that was why my theory is that that's why this is called Throwaway. It's called Throwaway for a deliberate reason that you could take this episode out, and you wouldn't miss it. You wouldn't miss this episode whatsoever. You could probably carry on from episode 8 to episode 10 without any feelings of, wow, we've skipped something here, we've jumped something here. And that's my theory. So
I think this
apologies to everybody who really loves this episode.
I actually do agree, though. I do agree. It's not the best episode, and yeah, I do feel it's kind of throwaway, but we do have more context with Claudette, and we do get more context with Lem as well, which kind of makes it a little bit more passable.
I think it's called Throwaway because this guy's got to throw away the gloves after he's finished doing the ass tattoo.
I didn't take pictures of the butt cheeks, so I wasn't sure what could be allowed on YouTube, so that's
why. Did you get that scene?
Yeah, it's also.
Oh, let's have a quick look at that scene, guys.
Okay. Someone to stop. So.
Yeah, just up until.
Danny, hi.
You seeing her?
Kim, yeah, it's new, but it seems to be going fairly well.
That's great.
Yeah, so far.
Good for you.
Great.
See what she did. See what she did with the good for you there. And then she turns around, and you can see it in the performance.
Good for
there's
you.
This little sting of regret there. Really well played by Catherine Dent. She's a fucking legend. Such a good actress, man. And honestly, like watching these episodes, I've run acting classes where I've said to the actors, because somebody always does a interrogation room scene. If you tell actors to make up a scene, somebody always does a police scene, which is fine. But making them interesting is really hard because we've had so many of them. And I always say to them, watch The Shield. You can watch The Shield. So, Alex, this is not a Spartacus stream, mate, and I'm sure you can work it out if you watch it.
Good episode, though.
It is a good episode. If somebody wants to answer Alex's question, he's asked it on my channel. Please write under it. Anybody else want to say anything about the plot and narrative before we move on to the cast and the guest actors for the episode?
Yeah.
I do like the fact that it does flesh out Lem a little bit more now as well, because yeah, he's a bit of an idiot, but you can tell his heart's kind of in the right place. But at the same time, he's still working for Mackie, isn't he? So he's got some conscience there, but he's still on Mackie's side. So there is a bit of an ambiguity towards him as well.
I mean, yeah, it's Lem definitely though. Lem has definitely made the decision that we've got to make this right. He's not going to back down from that, which I think gives him a bit of credit. But at the same time, it's not like he's going to go and say, "Oh, we planted the gun." We've got to make this right, and they make it right by doing more illegal shit. You know, it's only villains. It's only villains that are going to prison. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Lance, when I was rewatching this, I can't speak for Toxic, but I'm curious. I want to hear what he says because this episode is showing what like Lem, he can be a liability. And I'm like, don't do it. And the biggest mistake he made was at the end, the fact that he told this girl, he admitted to what they did. It's like that, dude, that's, oh my God, I want to hear you fucked up so bad. And now luckily she did forgive him. But if you're gonna do this right now in season 1, then what's gonna happen as the show progresses?
Yeah. The Electric Goat, who's been a guest on my channel, awesome person. Women who don't like you but want you to like them. Yeah, I met a few of those.
Yeah, so Lance, the moral of the episode is rules are made to be broken. That's the moral of the episode. But Inside Man's absolutely right about pretty much everything he said. He said it better than I could have. I have the same feeling about it, but he said it before I did, so acknowledgement.
Isn't this the first episode where we really properly see the Lost Mags in action?
I don't know, maybe, but
no, it is. That's important because they play a major role in the show.
That's
going
true.
Forward.
That's true. That's true. But the throwaway reference, I don't think that the throwaway reference is to you could throw the episode away. Although it could be. I hear where you're coming from with that, but there are little things in this episode where you could attribute the throwaway part. You already mentioned one, Lance. There's another one is the scene with the cranky old dad that's blind. He's literally been thrown away.
Yeah,
they treat him like trash.
Yeah, he's trained up outside, thrown away like garbage next to the
in parts of up here in North America, we have a term for this. They call it granny dumping.
And the mother also technically threw him away as well. She left them.
Yeah.
So
that's part of where the throwaway comes into. Maybe the gun, like they went in the back seat, like they just pulled the gun out of thin air. So that's a throwaway. I guess that could be a throwaway. There's a lot of subtle things in the episode that you could attribute the throwaway to. So, that's what I had to say off the top of my head.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Does anybody else want to say anything about the plot before we move on to the cast?
I think that this plot could have used some polishing up. I mean, it's definitely a little all over the place. It's an enjoyable episode. By the way, throwaway is what we cops call pistols that have the serial numbers filed off, and in case you get in a jam like that, you put a throw. It's either called a throwdown or a throwaway.
So that's referring to the pistol that's planted.
Yeah. You call it a throwdown. Yeah. Usually if you're from the South, you say throwdown. You put a throwdown piece on you. And in fact, that's actually a threat cops will use. They'll be like, keep giving me shit, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the cuffs on you and put a throwdown on you. And then you got a weapons charge. And they'll put the weapon in your hand while you're in handcuffs. So your prints and DNA are on the weapon, and that's it. Done deal. 5 years minimum.
There you go, Inside Man. How you like those apples?
Well, I think you're wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, side note for the rest of the episode. Can Inside Man's grandchildren call him and tell him that you love him, because he's really just being a killjoy? Did you?
So it's a shame we're losing Inside Man after this week. His last appearance on the field stream.
But yeah, it's an enjoyable episode. But I agree with you, Lance, and I agree with Blue Collar. The whole let's go rob the evidence truck to take care of this one. There's so many other things that they could have done, and just so you know, they do not give weapons and drug evidence in a van to be transported to central lockup, but with one old geezer,
one old
cop.
guy.
Yeah, that stuff is moved with a full tactical team. So
Right.
it is not that easy, and that's just and was anybody really going to think that Vic was a bizlat because he got a henna tattoo? I mean, that was really ridiculous.
Yeah, I did find. I thought that scene was a little bit like, just because he put a handkerchief. I mean, he was roughly the same size and build as the guy.
But super white. But super white. I mean,
And
it's
also-
crazy.
Yeah.
And also, what if a unit had responded really quick, had been right around the corner, and
Good
just
point.
showed up on the scene and just
Yeah.
came out? What if it had been Danny and Julian?
Yeah.
Could have
Or
gone
what are you-
really.
what are you gonna do?
It was
There's
just
so
I
much could have gone wrong.
I will say I don't like Lem when he is the focus of an episode. This episode really suffers because Lem, the guy that plays him, Kenny Johnson, he plays the same character in every single thing that he is in. He's basically Lem in everything he does, and it's really boring and uninteresting.
I'm trying to get him on the channel, man. What are you doing?
He is such a versatile,
He's terrific.
just an
I love
amazing
him.
actor, and he
Great
is
actor.
just on so much. I mean, from Blade to Sons of Anarchy. God, man, I really hope you get Kenneth Johnson on.
Yeah, so as I was saying, it's a shame we're losing both Lord Toxic and Inside Man after this week. My panel will be a lot smaller next episode. So, well, as you've gone there, let's talk about the actors for this episode. So we're going to do guest cast first, although technically Kenny Johnson is sort of a guest cast member at this stage because they weren't sure to what degree him and Ronnie were going to become focuses going forward. But I want to talk about Roscoe Lee Brown first, legend of an actor. Sadly passed away in 2007. He has been around for a long time, 132 acting credits, 3 soundtrack credits, did a huge amount of voice over work. He had a very sort of gravelly kind of James Earl Jones kind of voice. And, this is towards the end of his career when he did this episode. But if you look at his other stuff, and I remember him in ER, which was a show that I watched religiously. Toxico, New York Undercover. Have you seen that? We were talking about that when you were on your phone call.
Yeah, love that show. Love that show.
Is that's worth watching because I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's very 90s. So if you can, I mean, it is so 90s hip hop. It's
lots of bouffant hair.
I mean, it's the ultimate night. Like there's a channel in prison they call Bounce where they play like a lot of. It's like the welfare version of BET, and they play like so. New York Undercover is on that.
Is it sort of like New Jack City meets NYPD Blue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm in. That sounds good. I'll be up for that.
Oh, you'll like it. There's lots of hot African American women on there, so you will definitely enjoy that.
I don't know what you mean. So if we go all the way back to our man's credits here, I mean, you can see like he was in things like The Streets of San Francisco, which I used
Cosby
to watch.
Show.
Yeah, 1973, and then even further, he was in The Cowboys, which is a movie that I watched recently. John Wayne. And then even further still into the 60s, he was in episodes of things like The Invaders. So first acting credit on IMDb 1957.
Wow,
what a career! He's always good in any. You put him in a show, and
he seems like Claudette's dad, right? Like
he
seems like that would be her dad.
That their scenes felt totally believable to me. I really liked it. This woman's face in this one. This is some of the other work he's been in. But yeah, I really rate him. So I did not know that he was this robot in the Logan's Run movie. Because everybody on the panel must have seen the Logan's Run film, right? Silence. Does that mean yes? We've all seen it.
I've seen the original Logan's Run once. It's been a while.
I saw the cutaway where they talk about Logan's Run on Family Guy. Is that good? Is that good enough?
That does not count.
But I've seen Logan Run many times. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, the movie's good. So he voices this robot guy who's kind of crazy. This is from The Cowboys, which is a great film. If you haven't seen it, you should. There he is in The Shield. There he is again in Logan's Run. So really versatile actor. That's done a great many roles. Well, there he is on The Cosby Show. But hey,
that's one of my favorite episodes.
Let's move on. We've also got Rolando Molina plays Hector. Now, he's done pretty well. 117 acting credits. He's got a second unit director credit as well. I remember him on Animal Kingdom, which is another great show. If you guys haven't watched it, you should. He's done voices on Family Guy and American Dad. You know, quite a lot of Hispanic gangster type stuff, but it's great to see on his CV that it's a pretty versatile CV, and he's done loads of other work. I see Kurt Sutter gave him a role on Sons of Anarchy as well. So he was already pretty well established before he did The Shield. Started in 1992 in American Me. God, that's a film.
That's a tough rewatch.
That's a tough rewatch. Yeah, it's the uncut version of it is pretty.
Yikes.
Even the cut version of it was bad. The uncut version of it was grim. Liz Jamita, who plays the Hispanic, this is the only acting credit she's ever got. She shagged Lem, then she was done. That was it. So I can't really say much more about her. Tangi Miller, who plays Claudette's daughter. She is still acting, 47 credits. I believe she's done a fair bit of stage work as well. She is also a producer with 13 credits to her name. And also she has directed and written as well. Good for you. So she's been producer or co-producer on, I think, sort of several kind of TV movies. I don't think I've seen any of these, but, you know, good for her. I'm sure she's making more money than me. So, So that's the guest cast. We've got, of course, Lem and Ronnie. Ronnie doesn't get to do much. And then Kenny Johnson. Okay, so seeing as we had just a brief conversation about Mr. Johnson, KK Dodds is back in this episode as Kim again. He's got 65 acting credits, including 62 episodes of The Shield. He's in The Mayor of Kingston. I quite liked him in that. He's done 130 episodes of SWAT. Who watches SWAT?
I've watched it.
Yeah, I saw the first season of it, and that was it for me. I didn't really I wasn't invested in anyone to kind of enough to want to watch a second season.
Typical CBS cop porn show.
Yeah.
Background noise.
Lots of nice guns and stuff, but
sure.
He's done Chicago Fire. I'm just looking to see if maybe there's something we should watch. Remember him in Sons of Anarchy. Remember him in Prime Suspect USA. I mean, it did 27 episodes of Pensacola Wings of Gold. Has anyone seen that?
Unfortunately, yes.
Is it bad?
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's like NCIS if you bought it off of Wish.
Okay, so that's not so good.
Well, when Josh Brolin is your lead on the show, you know it's only kind of down.
James Brolin. James
Brolin. Excuse me, James. Sorry, James.
Josh is the son. James is the.
No, Josh is great. James is Mr. What's the
Mr. Streisand is the word.
Mr. Streisand. Yeah, he's Mr. Streisand.
Yeah. He was a good actor before he married Barbara Streisand. I don't know what happened after. I really like him in Capricorn 1. I think it's a superb film. Great performance from him. Yeah. So Mr. Johnson is always working. And I mean, regardless of what you may or may not think of his acting, from what I hear, he's extremely well liked.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy. I mean, I will. You know what? Blue Collar checked me a little bit, and I will admit that he does kind of step out of his comfort zone and Mayor of Kingstown. He's pretty
Yeah,
scary
I think
in
it's-
that.
That's a
Yeah.
great show. That's another show that we could do one of these on.
Dude.
You know.
Oh my
God,
God,
yeah.
it's such a good show. Such a good show.
Really, really good show. Okay, well, I'll start. For me, this is Claudette's episode. So, I mean, I know Mr. Grumpy wasn't too impressed with that storyline. I honestly really liked it because up to this point, Claudette's never been in a vulnerable position. Don't start laughing inside, man. I have to put you on the naughty step. But yeah, she's never been in a situation where like Dutch has got the upper hand on her socially, and I really enjoyed seeing that and him bonding with the dad. And the more he bonded with the dad, the more like kind of annoyed she got, and she was sort of trying to get the dad away from him, and it totally wasn't working. The dad really liked Dutch. And I loved all of that. And then he sort of comes back in with all this information. You're a ballerina, only for 9 months. Yeah, but in Paris, not in America, in Paris. So yeah, it's her episode for me. Everybody else in it is absolutely wonderful. But yeah, it's her rep. Yeah. So Darth.
I love Roscoe Lee Brown as an actor. I just didn't like his role in this. It just kind of picking back a little bit on what Inside Man already said. So I like the ballerina line. That's amusing, but having the dad show up, like, it just reminds me of Three's Company when Chrissy's dad shows up. What are you doing here? You know something's gonna happen. It's gonna they're gonna make fun of you, and I knew what was coming, and I didn't find it very compelling, and they just showed too many scenes. I didn't like the scene that, and they kind of laid it on a little thick at one point, like the scene where it's like, well, you joined the police force and you were horrified. And I was, and it kind of reminds me of that interaction between Sarek and Spock in Star Trek 4. That's what it seemed like they were trying to go there, and
that's not an immediate comparison that I would have gone with, but I see where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's immediately what I thought of when I heard that exchange. They're making it look like that. I didn't like them. They're making him look a little too cerebral. What did he say exactly? Subtle fractions of culpability that conspire, something along those lines. People don't talk like that.
Dutch goes, I like the way you talk. I've met loads of people that talk like that, man. So I don't know who you hang out with, but clearly, you know, I hang out with a higher caliber of people.
Nice.
You say so. You say so. I don't know anyone that talks like that.
Some of them were at the rave I was at yesterday.
I have them on the show. I'd like to meet them.
Yeah. I'll get them on specifically to talk to you.
And
then we can get into this.
Smartest guy I know is Frank. He doesn't talk like that. Second smartest guy I know is George. 2 PhDs, 16 languages. He does not talk like that.
Well, Inside Man.
My best friend's uncle has 12 PhDs. She does not talk like that.
Inside Man normally talks like that. It's all an actor's voice on here. So you know, if you meet him down the pub, you'll get the Roscoe version.
Other than that, you're right. It is Claudette. Okay. So aside from Claudette, I don't know, man. I mean, I can't say anything more than what you guys already did about the hijacking scene where Vic tried the hijack thing. I didn't like.
But who's your standout actor for the episode? That's what we're doing.
Claudette. That's it.
Claudette. Okay. So Claudette it is. Tox.
Yeah, I'll give it to. I'm going to give it to Julian in this episode. I know it's supposed to be Lem's episode, but I like the fallout of that. I'm glad they wrapped that up because it was getting a little tedious with that. I mean, I get it. He's the rookie cop, so he's going to try to be the moral compass. But the problem when you do that is that everybody's dirty in some way, and they're going to use it against you. So I like his reactions, and I'll point out that he. Actually, he knows like Vic is full of shit. Like he's just like, he's like, I'm not your friend. I'm not buying this. Like, stop it. Like, okay, you got me. You know, he doesn't fight back anymore. He's just like, okay, well, you got me. All right, that's fine. But I'm not going to pretend and be your buddy now because of this. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I like that line.
I like it, and it's not him trying to regain the moral high ground, so to speak. It's just him just basically like, look, I'm over this. Okay, I lost, you won, but let's just leave it at that. And he takes his punishment like a man. And I sided with him in the argument between him and Danny. I thought Danny was being super childish and probably still a little butthurt that she missed out on her shot with Dutch. So she's taking it out on Julian. And I think it's definitely more of a Julian. I know it's supposed to be a Lem episode, and I do hope you get your interview, but I don't think that he comes off very well in this episode. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, they play his character probably a bit too much for comedy, you know, the bike and the silly helmet, and he's trying to be all cool and hard. And
I mean, he's talking like a punk too.
He was acting like he was Vic's kid. He was acting like he was like on a ride along with Vic, and he wasn't actually a professional SRT guy in the deadliest police Farmington district that they have in LA. Like it's crazy. Like he was just like, yo, I'm gonna meet you down by the river and fight you. It's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like that didn't even make any sense. So and I don't really care for the whole him and Tigray like hey, I just shot your brother. Hey, you want to get it on? Yeah, sounds good. Let's do that. You know, it's like what's happening right now? Yeah, I didn't like any of that.
Are you telling me that doesn't happen in real life? I'm getting upset now.
Well, the shooting and the throwdown piece for sure. Like as soon as that happened, like I said, all the cops used to sit around watching this, and everybody in the room was like, "Yep, put a throwdown on him. Go get it." They knew exactly what Vic was doing when he went to the back of the trunk. They were like, "Oh, go get the throwdown piece or the throwaway piece, and put it on him." So everybody knew that, but the rest of it was really ridiculous.
Okay, Blue.
I'll just give it to Vic's wife, Connie, because she's struggling. She tells Vic, I've been sleeping 2 hours a night because of the kid, our son. She hires a babysitter, has to fire her, and Vic leaves. And at one point calls like, "You left yesterday. You've been gone for almost 2 days." And I can't something at the end. She says something's got to change.
That scene is really good. She's Kathy Cahill Ryan proper goes for it.
Yeah,
she's really good in that.
It's not so much that she's angry with Vic, but he's like, "What are you going to do? Quit my job?" She says, "No, but she's like, I need you. The kids need you. We all need you here. We barely see you as it is." And again, he left yesterday. And what hours is he working? Because often you see Vic, he leaves when it's daytime, comes back like a day or two later. He'll leave at night. I mean, the guy's not working a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job.
Yeah, which she knew when she married him, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
God, I hate her in this. I hate her in this episode so much. God, I hate her.
But everyone knows being a parent, as hard as it is, when you have an autistic kid and every 5 seconds, daddy. Okay, and then he's going to his mother like, where's dad at? I haven't seen dad for 2 days.
Yeah, if they'd have just waited 10 years. If they'd have just waited 10 years, every kid is autistic now, so he could have just gone to a regular school. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Oh God, I hate Vic's wife. Man, I hate her. This is when I really started to hate her. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up. Sorry. Man, I hate her. God.
The ex-cop has no sympathy for the wife giving the cop a hard time.
Yeah.
So but that's that's fine.
The thing is, don't these whenever they get with these coppers, don't the coppers actually lay it on them saying, "Listen, I'm going to be gone for a long time. Sometimes I won't be back for hours or days. Do you really want this relationship?"
I don't know, but it's not your turn yet. Okay. Inside man, you'll go.
I'm actually going to go with Claudette, even though I didn't like that whole story with her father and everything. I thought we could have done without that. I do like her. I'm liking her more and more. No. I just think she's great. I love watching her. I love listening to her. I think she's terrific. But that whole father-daughter thing that irritated the hell out of me. And actually, on something that Toxic had said, talking about Lem, I mean, He is. I was going to say exactly the same thing as Toxic. He's a kid. Lem's
Yeah,
a
he is a
kid.
kid.
He is Vic's kid. He's Vic's impetuous child.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, and I just thought he acted like a dick. You know, although I will just say that I think he's an excellent actor. He'd be a fantastic guest to have on this show. I think
Agreed.
he's, you know,
God,
he's
he
a
would just be
terrific
so wonderful,
actor.
man. I hope you
Really,
get that interview.
probably, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, great actor, great actor.
Yeah.
Shame you won't be here though when that happens. On that note, right, Northern. Now you can jump in and expunge your thoughts. Go for it.
It's got to be Claudette again. I mean, even though this storyline is weak, and I do agree with Inside Man on this. We are seeing flaws of her character. You know, she's obviously trying to be a good mum, but at the same time, her kids are making stupid decisions still when they're grown ups. And this might be one of the few times she might need to sort of just back off and let them make their own decisions and hopefully learn by themselves. And it's a good little thing to add because she's kind of been a little bit of a moral compass, but she's we're actually seeing a few cracks in her, in a few cracks in the foundation, I should say. Any more?
Yep.
Okay. Very quiet. Very
All
quiet.
right, yeah.
Sorry, I was getting a glass of wine.
Oh, okay. It's like, what happened to Lance?
But I could hear all your insightful
I
thoughts.
thought it was a tumbleweed moment there.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Luke was going to talk long enough for me to get some wine and cheese. So
Well, we can talk about other things, you know, derail the stream a little bit while you get your drink. Who knows?
It's wine and cheese time in the Nielsen household. That's Nielsen spelled Nielsen for Ryan Randall in the chat. So
Well, I could have discussed a nice story about a bridge.
Okay. All right. Well, moving on. Let's talk about favorite scene and favorite lines. Mine. Let me get my notes. My favorite scene is there's quite a few, but it's probably it's probably the one with Danny and Claudette reacting to Dutch's conquest. Claudette's kind of happy for him, even though she's a bit like slightly worried about the ethics. And I like the whole Danny reaction for the reasons that we discussed. It throws up human complexity, and I like human complexity because it's real. Favorite line is probably Vic's line. 15 to 20 would have been a great lesson to Lem, and again, it's kind of the father dressing down the kid. That's the line I wrote down. I do like the payoff at the end of the episode. Why do your kids hate you so much? Because I was a bastard. That's like Claudette's like shit. Perhaps I need to change some things. So that's kind of a nice payoff. Darth, favorite line, favorite moment.
Yeah, this isn't a very good episode for this sort of thing, but off the top of my head, probably the opening scene after they shot the guy and Ashton Vader shows up and they take Tigra out of the house and you shot the wrong guy.
Yeah, that's a clanger. Yeah, that's really good.
For me, I hate to say it, but that's really the only real scene that really made me laugh.
Toxic. Favorite line, favorite scene.
Favorite scene? Oh man, there's a lot of good ones. Even though I do have a problem with the plot, I guess my favorite scene is the throwdown piece on the guy's scene, just because it's so realistic. Maybe one of the only realistic cop things that happens in this. And then my favorite line is Dutch's. I like the way you talk. Because it seems really sincere, and it's almost like he's found this kindred spirit, but also somebody that can give him this other perspective on his partner that he kind of had as to this point has been sort of impenetrable, and gives very little away. So
yeah, I like that moment.
Yeah, because it means so many different things when he says it, and plus his delivery is really good. And we've already talked about the whole Danny jealousy thing, and that's okay, but it doesn't compare to those two other things. But yeah.
Okay, Blue. What about yours?
I was with Dutch, but I'll go with the old man Maynard. When Claudette says, "Yeah, why do your kids hate you so much?" I was a bastard. That's it. One simple line, and like you said, Lance, that's what inspires her to go spend time with her daughter before her daughter leaves. And I did like that subplot a lot because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot to unpack with just that subplot alone, but I don't want to kill too much time.
What about scene? Do you have a favorite scene, or is it the same one?
Favorite scene was with Lemon Tigre, because as like I told, Toxic, and right now Lemon as a character, as a child, but like, dude, what you just did right now, like you admitted to, you set her brother up, and boy, it's how much more trouble are you going to get the strike team into going further if you just yes, you're bonding with this hot chick, but like, I don't care how much you're bonding with her, the fact you just told her that could have went 1,000 ways sideways, especially after what you just put everyone in jeopardy by them knocking over a damn police freaking evidence van, and now you just admitted to the one thing you've been covering up the whole fucking episode. Jeez.
Yeah, that I was surprised when he did that. I thought, man, how dumb can you be? You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, Inside Man.
Yeah, favorite line again, same as Blues actually. The thing with the old man. Why'd your kids hate you so much? Because I was such a bastard, and I really like that. As Blues says, that kind of sums up, an awful lot of what's wrong with certain parents. Let's just say, why they have estranged kids. But favorite scene. Yeah, I like it when it's hard to say. I like it when the guy got shot, but I like that scene where they get the wrong guy, and they have to plant the gun on him. Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah, very good. Just want to, Ryan, what I actually said about Kenny Johnson was that the characters of Lem and Ronnie, it was in one of the commentaries or something that they weren't sure how big their characters were going to be, so they might have ended up being glorified extras in the show, but obviously that's not what happened. But it wasn't, they weren't sure how big those roles were going to go, so yeah, he wasn't actually hired as an extra. It was a speaking part from day one, but not necessarily as big as it turned out to be. Yeah, okay, well, ratings out of 10 then. Oh, sorry, Northern. I nearly forgot you.
Yeah, it's just going to be the same. It's that I was a bastard, and it does really give you more into context to, because Claudette really thinks these the kids are just ungrateful little brats who are just being totally neglecting this old man who needs them. But it turns out no, they probably were right to neglect this old man. He probably made their lives misery, and it's all summed up in one line.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the mother hates him so much, and the son's turning into him, I think.
Yeah. One line just adds a whole lot of context, and I always love that. That's why I love TV and film. There's this visual medium that just does that in such a short amount of time with very little.
So, thank you. Ratings out of 10 for this episode. For me, it's a 9. I really like it. It's got some elements of it that are weak, but overall, I think it's another good, solid episode. Lots of good background with the characters, like the fact we find out more about Claudette, and yeah, kind of like the whole Dutch triangle thing as well. It's good. The introduction of the Lost Mags is actually quite important for the show. We're going to see a lot more of them going forward. It's not the last time we see Claudette's dad either. So there are some things being planted here. No worries, Randall. That was just a clarification, mate. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Darth.
I'm feeling generous, so I'd give it a 7.
Ooh, okay. That sounded like a generous Inside Man 7. Lord of Toxicity.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Darth. It's maybe I can give it a 7.5 just because I like the Claudette stuff, but there's so many plot holes and the Lem led narrative is really kind of weak for all the reasons I described. So plus every moment that Kathy Cahill, Ryan playing Vic's wife is on screen, it just makes me want to commit a felony. I just can't stand her in this episode. So,
but what you're saying is you can't stand the character.
Yeah.
Well, she's a bad actress too, though. If I'm being honest.
No, I disagree. I think she's good.
Well, she's been given a lot of roles based on, whatever you call nepotism when it's married into nepotism. I always think of her in Red Belt, and in her trying to when she tries to do David Mamet dialogue. Like, if you can't do David Mamet dialogue, you're, I mean, dude, you're handed a gift, and you can't do David Mamet dialogue. And she was just terrible in Red Belt, and not much better in a lot of the other stuff I've seen her in. So,
as we said earlier, it's great to see Lord Toxic. It's a shame we can't have him back again.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
This will be having him here.
You're trying to get her on your show, aren't you? That's it.
I'm inviting all the cast on the show. I've told you guys this before. So, Tox, you go at 7.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah, I'll just say 8. Not my favorite, but I like the Claudette and plus Lem's storyline, and you can tell that the Lem storyline going forward is going to have some serious repercussions.
Okay. Inside Man.
Definitely an 8. It's my second least favorite episode, but yeah, an 8. I think an 8's okay.
Northern.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. I did feel like it was kind of slowing down a bit with Lem's relationship.
6.
Sorry?
6.
Yeah. Sorry, it's not my favorite episode. It still has some good moments, but I think even Toxic mentioning about the whole scam of trying to steal the bloody gun from the evidence van as well kind of just bogs it down a little bit. So there's the relationship with Lem and the ex, and with the I forgot a bloody name now, and I don't know if
T-Gray.
Yeah, it kind of bogs it down a little bit, especially the whole messing around. I'm going to meet you at 11. We'll fight it out, and yeah, it does. I actually do agree with you a little bit. It seemed very weak of him to organise that only because just as a ploy to set him up. It just does, and it kind of goes down for me. But still, it's not a terrible episode. We do get to know Lem a little bit more as a character. We get to know Claudette more as a character, and the performances are still strong. It's I cannot knock it still.
Okay, fantastic. Good to hear. Yeah, so well, that's episodes 8 and 9 of The Shield. We will be back next Sunday to do funnily enough, can you guess, episodes 10 and 11. And I think actually no, we're just doing 10 and 11, and then it's 12 and 13 after that. That's right. So yeah, looking forward to doing that. Should be fun. But let's talk about some other things that we have coming up. So later on this month, where is my diary? Oh, there it is. I just want to make sure I give you guys the right date. It's the 28th, Monday, the 28th of October. So it's in a couple of weeks. At an unusual time, because I always work around the availability of my guests. An unusual time of 4 p.m. In the afternoon. I'm going to be having actor Jeffrey Byron come on the show. He's the leading actor in Charles Band's Metal Storm. He was also in Rage War, The Challenges of Excalibrate, and a whole host of other things. Yeah. So that's going to be fun.
Yes.
Inside Man, if you're available, but you'll probably be filming, but if you're available, let me know. You can co-host that one with me. That's at 4:00 on a Monday.
Oh, bless you.
Just 28th of October.
Yeah,
check your schedule and let me know.
I'll check.
All right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
That's all right. Yeah. So Jeffrey, really nice man. I might see if we can get Tim Thomason to pop on as a surprise guest to say hi, because of course they were in Metal Storm together. We can find out which one of them managed to get a paycheck off Charlie Band first. So always entertaining. Another interview that I've got lined up. In fact, I've got 2 DJ interviews lined up. One of them is in November with Adele, Anya, and then I've got Charmin Love coming on that interview as well. They're coming on both together. One DJ relatively new from Brighton. The other one is part of Peach and has been going for quite a while. She's doing pretty well. In addition to those 2, which are in November, I think even before then, I've got Danny Lyons of Centre Force coming on the channel as well, who is working on a new book. He's a really, really interesting person. He's responsible for the Orange Raves that I've been attending. So a few people from the British dance scene coming on the channel to chat. So all kinds of creatives on here, not just from film and television, but the world of music as well, which of course is another creative skill set. So very much looking forward to getting Danny on the channel. Really interesting character, very eventful life. It's going to be an interesting stream. I think we've already agreed it's going to be 2 parts. So yeah, you guys are going to want to tune into that one. Toxic, he's going to put your history to shame. So yeah, guys, you want to plug stuff coming up? Blue, what you got coming up?
I'll try to get about tomorrow. An hour before we came on, Lance, I went to go see the Christopher Reeve movie, and boy,
the documentary.
I mean, I joke about my sensitivity, but brought my kid, and Lance, boy, I had a whole box of fucking tissues next to me. God damn, you will, and it's very tastefully. They show footage I've never seen before from his history. But yeah, if you want to, I mean, for some people, I would say wait till it comes on maybe digital, because I would prefer to watch it in segments, because a couple times in the theater, I'm like, I need a break from this, because it's like really just digging at every heartstring I have in my being, you know. that man was truly an icon.
That's the power of being in a movie theater, though, isn't it? You're kind of trapped. You got to see it through.
At one point I wanted to pause it. I'm like, man, I can't take this. Is freaking depressing, and man.
Well, we'll talk about it on Tuesday. Inside Man, you want to plug anything?
I think I mean, obviously I'll be with you on Tuesday, but I'm not sure whether we've actually got something on Northern's stream on Friday. I think it might have been Shaun of the Dead. Am I correct?
Yes, it is Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. Okay.
Shaun of the
fantastic.
Dead.
Tox is on camera. Is that intentional?
Yeah, just because I didn't want to interrupt anybody, but I also wanted you to see that I was back.
Oh, okay. No, that's all right. I didn't know you gone. Okay, Northern, anything else to plug?
Yeah, well, I've got Thursday with 7 o'clock my time. I'm gonna have Lord of Toxicity on with me, and maybe Fandad and Critical if they've caught up on this show, and that is to discuss episode 4 of The Penguin. And I've also got video review premiering for my Halloween videos, and that is Stephen King's Doctor Sleep, the adaptation from 2019. And Friday, yes, Shaun of the Dead with Critical, Fandad, and Inside Man, and maybe another guest, whoever wants to pop on. And so far, that's it. I'm hoping to try and do a first impressions little quick live stream on Substance, because that is definitely one bonkers movie that I definitely talk about.
That film is, I can't watch it again, but I mean, it's it's out.
I don't know why I found it hilarious. Maybe it's the sicko inside of me. It's very humorously, darkly humorous.
Well, you are from up north, so
yeah.
Yep. Well, listen, man. It's a good film. But boy, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack. Literally, things get unpacked in that film. Okay, so we're going to be back on Tuesday with the Nielsen ratings. One other thing that I forgot to mention is the date for the movie quiz, the Outcast Creative movie quiz, which we started for the first time last year. I've actually been running it for 27 years in person. Is on Sunday, the 1st of December, which will be my 8 o'clock. So there won't be a Shield stream on that Sunday. There will be the movie quiz, and it will be the winning team from last year have got first dibs on if they want to try and hold on to their cup and reform and be on it again. I think Gooch was on the winning team, if I remember rightly. I'll need to check the video to see exactly who there was. And they're going to be going up against a surprise team. So, anybody who's interested in being on it, let me know. It's a movie trivia thing. You also play against the chat. So the chat also can take part, although the chat are not sharing in the potential large cash prize, which is only split between the two teams that play online. But you can join in the chat for fun. As Haylet Louise has said, the quiz was great fun last year. It was the best day of my life. That was the other bit that she couldn't quite fit on the message.
Clearly.
So,
Clearly.
yeah, it's clearly implied. Fantastic time. Clearly implied. Yes, we're going to look forward to that. There's also a new theme tune for the Outcast channel coming. That's right. We've got our own song. I shit you not. But I'm not going to play it today because it's not ready yet. We've also got a new intro on the channel, and I think I'm going to use that to play us out today. Just want to thank my panel for coming on. Really do enjoy these streams talking about the Shield. Fantastic show, despite some people being a bit grumpy today. And to anybody watching for the Shield, I think it's brilliant. And hopefully you'll come on the channel and we can talk about it in more detail. And if there's any of my guests here that you don't want to be there for that occasion, just let me know and I'll make sure they're not here. So, okay. I'm being facetious, of course, probably. So, thank you to my panelists, Lord of Toxicity, Blue Collar Loser, Darth Plato, the Inside Man, Northern English, a bastard. And thank you to everybody in the chat who's made comments and things. Really good to see you. And we shall see you all again on Tuesday at 10 p.m. for the regular spot.
We chew the fat and give our gut reactions on all things pop culture, film, TV, and theatre. We talk to legends in the creative industry and those on the rise. We game old school. We support independent creatives. Got a project? Tell us about it. Get in touch. We do all of this, and a whole lot more. Like, subscribe, get involved. Join Lance Steen, Anthony Nielsen, and the Outcasts Creative.